The Rolex Submariner is the most important sports watch ever made. More than 4 million units have been produced, with a combined market value approaching $50 billion, and a design so influential that roughly 75% of all counterfeit watches on Earth attempt to imitate the brand behind it. Today we're going inside the case, inside the movement, and inside the engineering that made the Submariner a benchmark for an entire industry. The story begins in 1926 when Rolex founder Hans Wilsdorf patented something called the Oyster case, the first truly waterproof watch enclosure. 5 years later, Rolex patented the perpetual rotor for automatic winding. Those two innovations laid the foundation for everything that followed. But the Submariner itself was the brainchild of René-Paul Jeanneret, Rolex's Geneva director, who happened to be an amateur diver. He spotted a gap in the market. Divers desperately needed a reliable, waterproof instrument on their wrists that could meet the emerging ISO 6425 dive watch standard. In 1954, at the Basel Watch Fair, the reference 6204 made its debut. It was water-resistant to 100 meters, and within a year, that figure doubled to 200. Now, here is a detail collectors absolutely love. The original bezel rotated in both directions. Why? Because Blancpain actually held the patent for unidirectional bezels at the time. Rolex would not make that switch until 1981. It is a small fact, but it tells you something about how competitive this space was from the very beginning, especially against rivals like the Omega Seamaster, which was emerging as the Submariner's primary competitor. The Submariner's rise to cultural icon status got a massive boost in 1962 when Sean Connery strapped a reference 6538 to his wrist as James Bond in Dr. No. Here is a piece of trivia that often gets overlooked. Connery did not own that watch. He borrowed it from producer Albert Broccoli. That single borrowed timepiece appeared in 4 consecutive Bond films, from Dr. No through Thunderball, cementing the Submariner's association with sophistication, adventure, and quiet confidence. Today, a well-maintained 6538 will cost you north of $500,000. One sold at Phillips auction in late 2018 for $567,000. Roger Moore continued the Bond tradition with the reference 5513, which in Live and Let Die was modified by art director Sid Kane to include a magnetic field generator and a buzzsaw bezel. Pure cinema fantasy, but the cultural impact was absolutely real. Interestingly, even Rolex's sister brand Tudor capitalized on this diving watch momentum with their own Submariner variants during this era. Let's talk about what actually makes the modern Submariner tick, because this is where it gets genuinely fascinating. The current Submariner runs on either caliber 3230 for the no-date model or caliber 3235 for the date version. The 3235 is essentially a mirror image of the 3230 with the addition of a date wheel. Both movements are protected by 14 patents, and according to Rolex, over 90% of the parts in the 3235 are entirely new compared to its predecessor, the legendary caliber 3135 that served the Submariner from 1988 to 2020. The headline number is 70 hours of power reserve, up significantly from the 3135's roughly 48 hours. Rolex achieved this through 2 key innovations working in perfect concert. First comes the Chronergy escapement. This is Rolex's modernized take on the Swiss lever escapement, and it's beautifully clever. The escape wheel is made from a nickel-phosphorus alloy, and it is pierced, meaning material has been strategically removed. This makes it lighter, reduces inertia, and improves energy efficiency by 15%. That increase does not sound dramatic until you realize it translates to roughly an extra day of power reserve without increasing the movement size. Second is the mainspring barrel. Rolex halved the thickness of the barrel walls, which allowed them to fit a longer, higher capacity mainspring inside the same physical envelope. Combined with a redesigned monoblock rotor that spins on ball bearings for faster, more efficient winding, the result is a movement that consumes 30% less energy than its predecessor. The trade-off is that the thinner barrel walls mean you can no longer safely remove and reinstall the mainspring during servicing. The barrel essentially becomes a sealed unit. It is a philosophical choice, ultimate performance at the cost of traditional serviceability. At the heart of the oscillator sits the parachrome blue hairspring, one of Rolex's most significant material innovations. It is composed of 85% niobium and 15% zirconium. This alloy is completely paramagnetic, meaning magnetic fields have zero effect on it. It is virtually immune to temperature variations, and it is up to 10 times more resistant to shocks than a conventional hairspring. In 2005, Rolex modified the surface structure, thickening the oxide layer to between 50 and 100 nanometers. This increased stability even further and gave the spring its distinctive blue color, hence the name parachrome blue. Protecting all of this is the Paraflex shock absorption system, patented in 2005. Rolex engineered a geometry that increased shock resistance by 50% while preserving the chronometric precision of the balance wheel. The balance itself uses variable inertia regulated by gold microstella nuts and sits on a height-adjustable traversing bridge. The result is a stated accuracy of plus or minus 2 seconds per day after casing, which exceeds even COSC chronometer certification requirements and earns Rolex's own superlative chronometer designation, a standard twice as precise as traditional certification. Now let's move outside the movement to another piece of proprietary engineering, the cerachrom bezel. Cerachrom starts as extremely fine zirconium dioxide powder. This powder is mixed with color pigments and a binding agent, then molded under high pressure. The pieces go into furnaces where temperatures reach 1,600 degrees Celsius. At that heat, the material undergoes a transformation that gives it extraordinary surface hardness and a beautiful, lustrous sheen. Each piece shrinks by approximately 25% during firing, which means every single one must be precision machined afterward. The 60-minute graduations are engraved directly into the ceramic, and then the entire insert is coated with either 18-karat gold or 950 platinum, depending on the model. The precious metal is then polished away from the surface until only the recessed numerals retain their gold or platinum fill. The result is a bezel that is virtually impervious to scratching and fading. 20 years from now, it should look essentially the same as the day it left Geneva. The caveat is that ceramic is brittle. A sharp impact can shatter it, and replacement is significantly more expensive than an old aluminum insert. The case itself is crafted from Oyster steel, Rolex's proprietary alloy from the 904L steel family, typically found in aerospace and chemical industries. At 41 millimeters and waterproof to 300 meters, easily exceeding ISO 6425 dive watch standards, it is fitted with the glide lock extension system, an ingenious toothed mechanism with 10 notches of approximately 2 millimeters each, allowing up to 20 millimeters of bracelet adjustment. That is enough to fit over a 3 millimeter diving suit without tools. The dial features the chromolite display, emitting a long-lasting blue glow that ensures legibility in the dark. Triangles, circles, and rectangles serve as hour markers, each form deliberately distinct, so that orientation can be read at a glance, even underwater. Today, the Submariner lineup spans steel, two-tone, and precious metal configurations, with retail prices ranging from $9,100 for the no-date reference 124060 to well over $40,000 for gold variants. Rolex produces an estimated 100,000 to 150,000 Submariners annually, roughly 10% of total production. And here is what is remarkable. Even with that volume, scores of models still trade above retail on the secondary market. As Subdial co-founder Christy Davis put it, Rolex has created a cash cow model without detracting from the allure of the watch. From a borrowed prop on Sean Connery's wrist to a collective market value of $50 billion, the Submariner is not just a dive watch. It is a masterclass in iterative engineering, material science, and restrained design evolution. 7 decades in, and it remains the standard against which every sport watch is measured.